You already are psychic. See, a lot of people believe that we must be born psychic, that we must be born with our abilities and our knowing of our gifts. And that is kind of true because we all are already born psychic. We already are all born with the gift to be connected to God or to spirit. So, if you're interested in learning about becoming more psychic or becoming more in tune with yourself, more in touch with your gut feelings, with your intuition, if you're interested in the other realms, in spirits, in God, then it's probably because you have an intuitive guide calling you within yourself and your psychic abilities. So watch this video if you're interested in tapping into that. Hi, my name is Elise. I'm an artist, but I also make content online talking about mindfulness and reprogramming our minds, womb healing, and all things spiritual. So talking about being a psychic, this is something that I truly believed from the start of my journey when I first got into spirituality was, oh, I wish I was born with psychic abilities. I wish that I was born with these things because I truly believed that you had to be born with these things. And I thought you had to be like someone special or like a chosen one or something like that to have this connection to the divine or to spirit or to God, whatever it is that you call it. And remember that no particular one person is special. However, we are all special. We are all unique. We are all gifted with our own unique personal connection and perception to the divine, to God. And it's everyone's beautiful own journey to get to a place where you feel like you are in alignment with yourself, where you feel like you're in alignment with God, with the universe, and where you feel that connection with yourself and with spirit. And that looks so different to everyone. And I think that's what's so beautiful about the spiritual journey is that no two journeys are exactly the same. There is no right or wrong way. You are not behind. There is nowhere you need to be. Do not compare yourself to other people's journeys and to where other people are at or what other people have as gifts. There is no need to compare yourself because you are unique. You have your own special connection to the divine, and it's going to look completely different than everyone else. And I think that's where a lot of people get lost at the start because they think, oh, I can't do this because I'm not doing it like that person, or I'm not spiritual enough because I'm not doing what that person is doing. So take this as a beautiful reminder that you are exactly where you need to be. Your connection with the divine is exactly what needs to happen, and it will unfold as you go deeper within yourself and you allow it to come in. So, rolling off that, as I was going to say for my first point, the first thing you really need to do if you're wanting to get into connection with yourself, to the divine, if you want to open your gifts, your psychic abilities, whatever it is eliminate and remove the noise. What is the noise? The noise is all the programming that we have in our head, all the fear that we have in our head. Think of the fact that, obviously being a psychic and stuff like that, that's not a normal thing, right? It's not a thing that a lot of people in the external world or the people that are living in the matrix, quote unquote matrix, would think as a normal job. Sometimes it's considered weird, it's considered freaky, it's considered delulu, it's considered all these things, right? So we may have subconscious programming, like I did, about these things. And that can cloud our judgment, that can cloud our connection. Because if we have subconscious programming that what we're doing is crazy, or psychics are crazy, or, it's not real, or you're connecting to demons or whatever it is, because again, the fear can also stop that connection. And sometimes that can come from being indoctrinated from religions where they might put and instill a lot of fear into you and make you worry about, connecting to other beings other than, a particular god or a deity because it could be evil. Working through your subconscious programming and your fears surrounding spirituality, surrounding the psyche, surrounding it all is going to help you eliminate the blockages that you have, because you're not going to be able to have connection to the divine or to spirits or to whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to do mediumship, if you want to do psyche, if you want to read tarot cards, if you want to read oracle cards, whatever it is, you're not going to have that connection if you're living in fear, if you're still living with all these blocked emotions and feelings towards that world. And another thing that's important to understand to combat that fear is that you are always in control. Okay. You always have the power. You can always say no. Okay. You are a divine God particle. Okay. You're here to experience this reality. You're a spiritual being having a human experience, and you have the power and the control. I think a lot of people lose that sense of reality and that sense of control when they go down spiritual paths. And it's important to remember that you are in control, that you can put boundaries up, that you can say, like I have said, I don't want to see spirits. I don't want to just be walking around on my everyday life and seeing spirits every day. That's just my boundary that I have. If that's something that you want to do, then of course that's something that you can welcome in. Remember, you can ask what you want to see, what you don't want to see. And I think knowing that you have that power within you will also help you open up to the possibilities that you want to experience. But if you feel like you are not in control and you're like, I'm scared to read tarot because what if I connect to demons, or what if I do this and what if I do that, then you're always going to be holding yourself back. And honestly, most of the time, that is when you end up attracting more quote unquote negative entities and beings, because you are living in that state of fear. And usually, in my belief, that's what they feed off. Now, that's not to scare you, okay? Yes, demons are real. Yes, like they exist. And yes, I've communicated to them before, but it's not what a lot of people think it is. And again, you always have the control. You always have control of who you want to speak to and when you want to speak to them. So if you want to connect directly only to what you believe is God, source, consciousness, spirit, then that is all you need to connect to. You don't need to bother connecting with other deities and things like that if you don't want to. That's something that I was doing for majority of my spirituality journey, and I still do that because I don't feel the need to connect to other deities. I just connect directly to source, to spirit, besides the fact that I talk to aliens, but that's something else. And always follow what you're curious about, listen to yourself. Always use your discernment. Always take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And if you're interested in a particular topic, say you're interested in learning to do witchcraft, or you're interested in learning to read tarot, or you're interested in channeling, or you're interested in talking to aliens, whatever it is, learn about that. Knowledge is power, and exposing yourself to other people who might channel, other people who might read, other witches, whatever it is going to open you up in a completely new world, especially if you haven't grown up spiritual. My whole life, I grew up thinking all of this stuff was crazy, woohoo stuff, until I went through my own spiritual journey. And at the start, it felt really lonely because in my external real world, there was no one around me that was spiritual. There was no one that believed in psychics. There was no one that believed in all of this other realms and things like that. So it felt really lonely until I put myself online and I started making friends with other people who were in the same space. And that helped open me up so much, because you always learn off each other, And again, like I said before, using your discernment, you can learn from someone else that the way that they read, or the way that they channel, or their belief on something like that. And that doesn't mean you should take someone's all or nothing. You know what I mean? You shouldn't ever 100% like believe in someone to the point where you like idolizing them, because people can always be wrong. People always have their own perceptions. That's why it's so important to learn to use your discernment on this spiritual path. But like I said, knowledge is power, and having, that understanding, having knowledge about whatever aspect it is that you're curious about is going to help you keep leaning into that, keep tapping into that, keep tapping in within yourself, and it's going to keep you excited. This shouldn't be something forced, like, oh, I have to learn to read Oracle. You know what I mean? Like, this should be something that you're excited about. So if you're excited about reading Oracle, then learn about it. You know what I mean? That's going to open you up because it's getting your soul excited. Whatever it is that your soul wants to do on this journey, it's going to be more exciting for you, more fulfilling, and more in alignment to you. If you have no interest whatsoever to learn Oracle, then don't learn Oracle. This isn't about looking a particular way to be spiritual or doing particular things to be spiritual. You don't need to do anything to be spiritual. You just already are. You're already a spiritual being. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to read tarot. You don't have to connect to angels. You don't have to read tarot. You don't have to do anything. You already just are a spiritual being. But if you're curious about certain aspects of it, then lean into that. Learn a little bit more about it. Watch documentaries, whatever it is. Watch people online, YouTube. There's so much, luckily to the internet, there is so much information out there now that is literally in the palm of your hands. So if you're curious, lean into it. And one of my biggest tips that I'm going to give you in staying in alignment to yourself, because I believe that staying in alignment to yourself, your soul, your purpose, is what's going to open up these gifts for you. And again, remember, they're already within you. There's not something you need to, do. They're already within you. You just need to go within. But the biggest tip I will give you is clearing that channel, clearing yourself. Think of yourself as a vessel or a channel for God or spirit to communicate through to you. You need to be clear-minded. And that doesn't mean like sit there and try to think of nothing. Although, yes, meditation is a beautiful thing. But I mean, if you're, like I said earlier, have a lot of noise, if you have a lot of programming, a lot of stress, a lot of fear, then you may not feel like you're a clear, open channel for spirit to come in. And that can be done and achieved by spending time alone, doing nothing, being bored, meditating, playing with life, being a kid again, enjoying life, doing things that make you happy, following your soul's purpose. All of these things help because you're clearing your mind, you're clearing your channel, you're clearing your being. And that is always going to create a much more clear connection to God or to spirit. Now, I'm not saying that, you have to be meditating to be channeling all the time, or, you're never going to get a message randomly, because that's not true. I mean, you could be grocery shopping and you might get like a random message from spirit of like this, or like, I don't know, if you're a medium or something or psychic or something, there's going to be, a spirit that might pop up. It's not going to always happen when it's convenient to you. Again, unless you put in these very firm boundaries that you only want certain things to happen at certain times. But again, it's not necessarily what you're doing, but it's the state of being that you are in. If you're open to receive, then you are more likely to receive the messages and the alignment from God. But if you're not open to receive because you're living in ego, you're living so close-minded, you're living in stress and fear, then it might be a little bit harder for you to access that information to God. It might be harder for you to be that clear channel to spirit. And a lot of ancient ancestors of ours have talked about this from all around the world in so many different cultures. That's why in so many cultures, fasting is a thing, or, eating certain ways is a thing, or doing certain practices or ceremonies or whatever it is. That can help because you're clearing your mind, you're clearing your psyche field, you're clearing your energy, you're creating like a space basically for these messages to come in, for these gifts of yours to come out. Because if you're always busy, if you're always stressed, if you're always rushing, then you're not really having any space for your gifts to come out. So slowing down, regulating your nervous system, playing with life, meditating, all of these things, it gives you space. It opens up space in your own field, in your own energetic field, your bubble, your psychic field, for these messages or channelings to come to you. And remember, there are so many beautiful sources out there, beautiful teachers and leaders out there that will help guide people through, learning their psychic abilities and unlocking their psychic gifts. And just remember that there's no right or wrong way on how to be spiritual. There's no right or wrong way on your spiritual path besides what feels in alignment to you. Everyone is on their own path. Everyone is on their own journey. You are unique for a reason. You need to understand that you're here to follow your soul's path, your alignment, your directions. Anyway, if you have any questions, then leave them down below. I do also have linked in my bio on my link tree. I think it's on my Instagram and TikTok bio, some people that I personally trust in the spiritual space that are mentors and teachers and leaders that host retreats or are coaches or anything like that. And that is something that you could explore if that's something that you're interested in. If you want, you can also check out the rest of my content that I have here on Instagram and on TikTok, the way I talk about all things spirituality, mindfulness, reprogramming our minds, and psychic abilities. Anyway, stay spiritually safe. Blessings.